Welcome back to episode 11 of the BTI Podcast. Today, the gang talks the state of the industry, new brands on deck, and cool tech. Enjoy.
All right, hello. Welcome back to the BTI Podcast, episode 11. We cleared the hump. I know, we're really getting up there. All right, it's kind of a crazy week. Well, kind of a crazy couple weeks. We're recording this the first week of February. We just heard that the tariffs for Canada and Mexico have been postponed. That's good news for the bike industry, right?
Yeah, what did Brains say? 1.25 million of bike imports from Mexico.
Really?
I think, if I'm remembering the article correctly. So not insignificant, you know.
I didn't realize we get that much bike stuff from Mexico.
Yeah.
But I do have some suppliers that are made in Mexico and also some that are made in Canada that would have absolutely been affected. So I'm happy that it got postponed. The most frustrating point to me about this whole thing is that there's nothing in writing to reference what is coming and no way to plan around it. And as like for a business, we can handle changing costs. We just need to be able to plan. But when they are implemented in a way that like you put an order in 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, whatever, you're expecting a specific cost. So if those tariffs are implemented in just like a snap, there's no way to build that cost into your expectations, and it really throws things off.
And to your knowledge so far, Pete, like you haven't seen anything about like orders being grandfathered in or like POs on, like surely there has to be some sort of framework, unless, you know, this is just a political bludgeon. You would hope there's something more than just this threat, but we don't know.
I
right?
actually did not ever see anything for Canada and Mexico. And maybe I'm just living under a rock. I had some dealers call and ask me, and I didn't have anything to reference. I did today just see something about the China tariffs, which are actually in effect 10% on basically everything, which is a little more widespread than the first round 5-8 years ago, whatever. That one, there is definitely a bunch of language for products that are literally loaded on the boat in transport at a specific time of day. Then they're excluded or they're grandfathered outside of this. So I'm sure there was a bit of a rush, for those boats to leave the harbor. But yeah, I don't think the Canada and Mexico tariffs got far enough to have that any writing actually.
Yeah, but far enough to be threatened to be enacted over the weekend, but not far enough to be any real tangible plan.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is also worth bringing into the discussion that talk about de minimis. That's something that Trump just canceled that loophole for every country, right? Is that what you guys heard?
Yeah, and
all imports.
As far as I know, I guess I haven't read too much on it outside of the Brain article. Yeah, I guess it is on all imports. It would have to be, right?
Pull that up. Let's see the Brain article. Get some of that info in here. While you're looking that up, I'll just the definition of de minimis, or the word's kind of origin, is meaning lacking significance or importance. So de minimis refers to free import on shipments under $800 currently, or it was previously. And those are not the order volumes BTI usually deals with, but those absolutely affect and consumer purchases from overseas. I think, I'm thinking a lot about Alibaba, for example. Most of those shipments to the US are free in terms of duties because they're under 800. And we kicked around the idea of, hey, if we're really going to get charged an extra 25%, does it make sense to split our shipments into $800 chunks to avoid that huge extra tariff? Shipping cost is going to be extreme, but when we're dealing with 25% tariff, maybe it is. But now that loophole has been cut.
The Brain article specifically states China.
for de minimis.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where like a ton of those Alibaba products come from.
A lot of cheap e-bikes, cheap regular bikes.
Carbon rims.
I imagine a whole host of other peripheral products like off-label helmets.
I think there's actually some laws around importing helmets because they need to be certified by the CPSC.
Yeah, de minimis, it was also defined as being products without any sort of certification or certificates of compliance. So like that's your UL listing or C certification on lithium ion.
CPSC and UL,
batteries, and that's been a huge problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen laws change in New York because of these products. So
absolutely.
This was a long time coming, I think, because of that, because of the risks that some of these products, the more I was reading into it, and admittedly it wasn't much, but I mean, this can impact things like, recalls. And it makes sense. I never really connected the dots, but it's kind of scary to think that the volume of just like cheap products in general that have like been shipped to the US through de minimis loophole, that are just sort of like freewheeling.
Yeah.
Totally. I mentioned the lithium ion battery. That's the case that I'm most familiar with. But I mean, what other products are out there causing problems for people?
Causing fires in apartment buildings and stuff. Yeah.
That's a real world impact that de minimis allowed to happen. Do you know if this is the same loophole that allowed like online retailers to sell chains, cassettes? I remember it was back in 2015, 2016, there was a change in import law that it allowed, I think it was a chain reaction, or there was one big UK website in particular, I remember it just like opened the market for low dollar items to be sold direct to consumer in the States.
Yeah, I don't remember, but that was it was chain reaction in the UK.
Yeah, this is
really like they were selling cheaper than shops could buy in the US. So it was really throwing on like we were
Shimano specifically, if I recall.
We were having shops buy from them because it was cheaper than they could get it from Shimano in many cases. And it really threw the markets for a loop. I don't think it's the same laws, but I don't remember back then. Wasn't quite as deep in it, I guess I should say.
Yeah, it was interesting because weren't they doing like more OE lots, but selling product without packaging?
Yeah. Totally. You'd get all your Shimano components with no boxes.
Not to like that. That was pretty rough times for Shimano back in the day.
For sure.
Especially for the dealers, right? Kind of feel like that tainted a lot of relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's fully recovered since then. I haven't seen them be the king again since that time frame.
I mean, there are a lot of dealers that, pulled Shimano chains and products off their walls at that time.
Was it like probikekit.com or something like that? Does that ring a bell to y'all? They would sell like full groups for nothing. And of course, when I was working in shops, I would show that to the wrong customer, totally lose the sale. But I'm like, man, I'm a dirtbag too. Check this out,
Wow, yeah. No, I think some of that stuff happens in the US too. Like we do see some of the big online retailers selling unpackaged goods that are coming directly from usually bike brands. I think we saw a bit of that at the end of COVID as smaller bike brands were overloaded with components and needed to offload them if they didn't have enough to make a complete bike out of it. I think saddles were the thing holding up tons of complete bikes. And so, it just threw off the whole supply chain. And I think we saw a fair bit of dumping in that regard. But now we're getting into multi-year big pictures. Some crazy stuff has happened in the bike industry, and the latest political upheaval is only a small piece of it, I guess.
Yeah, but it's for us and our dealers, it's a lot of uncertainty. Like you said, it's hard to plan around.
That's it.
These threats.
Yep. And not to mention how, even thinking a slightly bigger picture than that, the threats are a problem, but they also relate back to like will your customers have enough money to buy bikes from you?
Right,
And
of course.
Are you going to have a great year and need to stock up on inventory, or are you going to be scraping by doing service only for the whole year? I think a lot of folks are in that boat. What's your read, Jake, on the state of shops this month?
This month, my read, boy, I feel like, it was a mild, beginning of the winter. It was pretty mild, felt like it finally kind of got cold. But as it got cold throughout the West, I felt like just things got crazy. I didn't quite understand the order volume we were seeing with the colder temps we've been in.
Even though it's crazy how our industry is so impacted by weather, like way more than the vast majority of industries, I would assume. But it was cold everywhere, but it hasn't snowed that much. Even in like California, Idaho, places. I don't think Colorado's had all that much snow in most elevations. So people are still able to ride bikes when it's cold and not snowy.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Service. A lot of folks saying service has been unusually busy for this time of the year, which is pretty cool. Hopefully we actually see some precip in the higher elevations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, we need it.
We need it bad. Seems like after talking to our new accounts manager earlier, we had a huddle. He's seeing a lot of folks retiring, a lot of folks selling the shop to old longtime managers, et cetera. That's pretty exciting to see. It's cool to see, folks who've, worked their way up and continue the torch. That really excites me. We'd rather get new account paperwork sent over to a dealer rather than flipping a switch, right? So, as in turning an account off. So, a lot of people are kind of calling. I have seen a bit of people kind of call it too. It's tough to say, I think people are getting old. They're getting a little tired. And again, the uncertainty, politically and in the industry has got a lot of people a bit cautious.
That definitely makes sense.
The overall, I think everyone's pretty pumped on bikes though. It's still riding. Still got some dry trail around here, and Colorado shops seem to same kind of boat. So, yeah, we're getting ready for the CABDA show.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a whole series, right?
Yeah, they have a East Coast show, they have a Midwest show, and then a kind of West Coast-ish show. I believe this year the West Coast show will be in Vegas. Cool. So we'll be heading to Schaumburg next week. We'll be going out with Rawson and Jesse, and then we're going to meet a few of the local-ish outside reps out there. And
that's the Midwest show?
Yeah, Midwest. Yep. I believe, I can't remember what order it goes. Perhaps the East has already happened. I'm pretty bad. I don't think we're going to go to the East Coast show. Just Midwest and Vegas. But
okay, we're going to Vegas as well.
We're going to Vegas.
Sweet,
Yep.
sweet. I mean, so in my mind, CABDA is like we used to have Interbike in Vegas, and it was a lot of dealers went to that from across the country, but that's a big expense. Like Vegas is set up with good, pretty cheap flights and hotels, but still a huge amount of travel, long distance for a lot of folks. So kind of cool that it's split into these smaller shows that are more regional.
Totally.
And then
I haven't been to a CABDA show in maybe 4 years or so, but
that long. Huh.
Yeah.
I thought you went last year.
Yeah. I'm excited to get back out. For me, it's just really cool to, the Midwest. I get to chat with some Midwest dealers here and there, but to shake their hands and get a better idea of what's going on in those markets is huge. It's
Totally.
cold up there. It can be cold.
Yeah, for sure. They're probably going to be some fat bike talk, right?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Well, more importantly, we've got a bunch of new reps in that region, right? Or more so on the East Coast.
So yeah, we've got Dennis Berg, who's been with us for quite a while. And then we've got Larry over in Ohio. I think those are the only reps that are going to be coming around.
Cool, but they're both going to be at CABDA?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yep. Yeah, and then maybe we'll see Perry and maybe some of the Prologue guys in Vegas. I'm not sure.
But I assume, some of the California reps will be heading up there. Yeah. Cool. Sounds like a great deal. Is it mostly bike brands that display there, or component manufacturers, or what? Yeah, bike vendors, bike manufacturer, lots of like small independent, or you don't have
like
Track and Specialized at CABDA, right?
Not that I've seen historically. Yeah, tough to say. Lots of random e-bike brands,
really?
and they're not, all the other folks who are super relevant, I would say. I'd be curious. Yeah, I wonder what the vendor attendee list looks like. I know a lot of budgets are kind of locked down right now.
Yeah,
with a lot of
that's
folks,
a great point.
so
It's probably going to be less attended on the
Yeah.
vendor side than maybe in years past.
I'd be curious. Yeah,
Interesting.
should be
I
fun.
bet, man. Getting out and shaking hands is awesome. You went once
Yeah.
though, post COVID, right?
Yeah, I want to say, post-COVID, they hit Del Mar, which was really cool, out kind of by the San Diego area. That was really nice because it was, February. So
Yeah, that's just some
at the Pacific.
side benefits
Yeah.
on top of the show itself. February trip to San
And
Diego.
then Schaumburg was probably 2020
Pre-pandemic.
pandemic as well. Yeah, so that was just before.
Yeah.
I want to
Been
say.
a while.
Yeah.
I
I remember doing Sedona Mountain Bike Festival, and that was when COVID kind of was. That was right where things started kind of getting kind of wild. If
Yeah,
I
that's
recall.
right. Almost got called off.
Yeah. Speaking of other cool festivals, the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival is amazing.
That's the
stuff.
April though?
I believe it's March.
Oh yeah, real early. That's right. Got snowed out
Ninth,
last year,
March.
if I remember right. 2 years ago?
I think
2 years
last year
ago.
was okay. I went last year. Yeah. It's dicey here in the Four Corners area during the month of March.
I think they
you never
bumped it
know what's going to
out
happen.
though a couple weeks compared to past.
That's such a fun event. It's outdoors. It's not in some stinky convention center. The vibes are always just so cool. Folks coming in and out of getting laps and shuttles. The Stoke is just
Is that
always
one a
so
little
high.
more consumer? That's more consumer facing, right? Whereas Cabd is real dealer.
Yeah, I would say everyone, a consumer. A lot of shops head out that way too. A lot of the local shops.
Cool.
in
I didn't
Arizona,
realize
at least,
that.
and I assume neighboring states.
Whereas Cabd is very dealer focused, right? Yeah. A little different. And that kind of reminds us, so many of us working in the industry are just riders, super close to the consumer, in terms of loving the same thing. You're going to be on the trail next to each other and not tell any difference in most cases, and then do some different business once you're in a show itself kind of thing. But yeah, we're all there for kind of the same reason. So that's cool.
Bikes.
Cool part about our industry.
Totally. Yeah, we'll be at booth 229.
Oh yeah. We've got fresh produce playing on the old TVs if they reproduce the years past, and come to shake Jake's hand along with the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Sweet. The other thing that impacts my world that just got over is Chinese New Year. I know most of the rest of the world calls it something different, but in the bike industry, it's really referred to as Chinese New Year. All the factories shut down for 2 weeks roughly. My recollection, 8 years ago, it used to be longer. It was it was a whole month, I felt like, my first few years. But this year, 2 weeks, everything's shipping again, back on the road. But it's such an important time because with about a month on the water, getting product here before the spring start of the season, hot season, you have to time a lot of stuff around shipping before Chinese New Year. So yeah, I don't know, kind of for the ocean, for the import buyers, kind of highlights a bit of a break of all right, you're prepped for the year, the season, your orders are in place or shipping before Chinese New Year to get it in before spring selling season. So that just passed. We're back up and running over.
A pretty ubiquitous holiday, factories, shipping, all of it is pretty much brought to a standstill.
Completely shut down. Yeah. I think banks work, but the factories won't go to the banks to, they won't work with the banks to collect payment. They won't even have a shipper pick up. There's nobody at the
Shut
factories.
it down.
Yeah. It's really complete, all of Taiwan.
So it's more of a predictable and serious shutdown than the the European like summer break we sometimes see
some
with
of our
our
European vendors, man. It's
yeah.
like the heat of the season and you just need an answer. And it's like, I have an answer for you in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Italians basically
Yeah.
shut down most of
Yeah.
August, right?
Mhm.
If I remember right. Yeah, that's
Yeah, August.
I envy that.
Yeah, right. No, I want that.
Could you imagine just like, can't wait till August? Like, that's a good time to get out and have a good time too.
The crazy thing is, I think the vast majority of people like actually travel during those times. So I don't know how everyone affords it. I don't think that many Americans could take a month-long travel, you know?
There's no way. No
Right.
way that would happen around here, dude. Jeez.
But yeah, businesses are super shut down. And it's what blows me away is even like business owners that clearly have email access just don't answer.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, they have a better work-life separation than I think most Americans do. So we can envy that
Totally.
and respect it,
Oh,
even
yeah.
though it's
Dare I-
challenging.
Dare I suggest even learn from it?
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty cool. That's, I think, one thing that's fun in my viewpoint about the bike industry is that we're pretty globally connected. I'm sure lots of industries are, but I've liked, as I've gotten farther into the industry, really learning more about kind of the global supply chain and also seeing differences in culture and how they play out.
We got some new brands just hit the catalog. High Above bags out of the Pacific Northwest, if I recall. Really cool stuff.
That's kind of a ski company, right? A ski bag, like they were making ski backpacks or something like that.
That could have been. I'm not super sure.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Fanny packs, even like a really cool, ready to go first aid kit for your pack.
That's something I've been trying to get in the catalog for a long time,
Yeah.
but we haven't had one. And
We used to stock the Brave Soldier packs back in the day. I think I rubbed all the Band-Aids out of mine throughout the years.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The one big challenge for us is that there's expirations on a lot of that. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Shelf life.
exactly.
Title just dropped as well.
I think
Super
that's-
exciting.
That's a big
stuff.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a fresh produce on Tidal, and if you haven't seen their handlebars in person, they have the most unique shape. It's, kind of think about like the 1-Up bar that has sort of flat spot at the bend, but it's way more angular and it kind of like faces up. So I can't speak to the engineering and how it feels, but they look super cool. It's just like a really unique looking handlebar.
Right on. I want to see more gyros on bikes. We've
Yeah.
got their gyro too.
They've got a gyro set
Yeah.
up for like big, like tapered head tubes. You can gyro your trail bike, So yeah, High Above, they're not really ski products. They just make a variety of different packs and bags, duffels. I think in our catalog so far, we've just got the nice fanny pack set up. And I'm sure we'll be adding more as we grow the brand. So that's pretty awesome.
Pete, you might be thinking of RMU.
That is exactly
Outdoors,
what
buddy.
I was thinking of.
Yeah. That stuff is really cool. Check that stuff out. Their tailgate pad, the tailgate locker, I should call it. The tailgate pad packs down. It ships in a pretty small box, so dealers doesn't cost a fortune to ship. Has an integrated insulated cooler.
Oh yeah.
So for those post-ride crispy boys,
We're talking really elevate your experience right there.
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Cool. So High Above is actually made in the US. That's pretty cool. And RMU, really neat variety of products kind of came from the ski industry. So sorry for mixing you guys up there. Oops. We added some other stuff to the catalog recently too, right?
Dude, the purchasing team has been going wild. Really good stuff. Let's see here. Tons of SRAM hitting stock going into spring. So look forward towards seeing that.
I see we got a new shipment of Tessa tape in. I think that I want to quickly tell the story of that stuff. We kind of saw that Tessa tape was being used by a couple of OEM wheel manufacturers like 10 years ago or something like that, and reached out to them. And they're basically like a tape company. And I believe Tessa tape is really its original purpose was packaging tape. It has a very unique stretch and a lot of stick to it. And it's which those two properties make it really good tubeless tape, and it's dirt cheap. So since then, we've seen a ton of OE adoption. Even more folks are using it, and we've been selling it for a long time. And I just think people don't really know what it is. It's not originally from the bike industry, but it works way better than duct tape. It's super good tubeless tape, and it's dirt cheap.
Yeah, I believe they cover several different applications. I mean anything from electrical tape, duct tape. You'll see the Tessa name on.
Yeah, they make a bunch of different types of tape.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, and they're tubeless tape in catalog now. I believe historically we've only been able to get narrower widths. 20? I'm just going to say not quite as wide as 38 of 30. I want to say 24, 22.
That's what it was originally.
Have been kind of overlapping that stuff, which I have a roll and I've been using that for a while now. The stuff rips.
That's what it was originally.
Not in a bad way, but in a good way.
That's what it was originally when we brought it in. Was just it was because it wasn't made for the bike application, so we just bought whatever they made. Yeah. And now there's so much demand for it throughout our industry. They're cutting it in different widths. So it
used to be you could only get like an industrial roll in that 30 mil, if I recall. Yeah, that stuff's great. 10-meter roll for
it's like
nothing.
$8 or something like that.
Great to have on the bench. Yeah, it's just stretchy enough. As long as your surface is clean, I feel like the adhesive backing is some of the best.
Yeah, I really like that.
There's a lot of options out there these days.
That's true.
Some of the tape out there I've sold, and used in shops, and some of it is, some of it kind of sucks,
Yeah.
I have nothing like, hey, I'm going to try this new tape. And then you've got 2 layers of the tape on. And next thing you know, you're getting some, sealant seepage through your spoke eyelets. That sucks.
Can be super frustrating. Yeah. I actually had really good luck with a module tape, which is made specifically for tubeless application, but it's pretty unique. They make like 2 different types of tape, a really stretchy kind and then a more rigid protective kind. So kind of came from the understanding that when you're ripping a lot of tires on and off and you're using tire levers, you can cut your tape pretty easily. So if you don't care about a slight bit of extra weight and you want to be more protective, you can put that secondary, more rigid tape over the top. So I've had good luck with that stuff too, because the under tape is really stretchy, really soft. So they can kind of make both tapes do their job better in a way.
1UP clip pedal.
Oh, that's hot.
Super hot for our catalog. We have SPD compatible Ritchie pedals and Wellgo pedals. But now that 1UP pedal definitely hits a different category. I think Shimano Trail series pedals.
We'll see about durability. The durability, I think they're up against those legendary XT.
Yeah,
but the 1UP is significantly thinner with a better platform. So if it can hold its weight and durability, then it's going to be a winner.
It looks good. Looks really good.
Totally.
Same with their hubs. Their ratchet hubs are so cool.
Yeah, really nice colors on those.
We got that Soma Rufus frame in stock.
What's that? I haven't seen that.
That is a mini Velo Urban Cruiser frame set.
Mini Velo meaning
20-inch wheels.
Cool. I saw a guy riding down near BTI a couple of days ago on something like that. It was like full-size frame, very tall, but on little 20-inch wheels, and he had like a trailer with a 20-inch wheel on it too. So it was like 3 little 20-inch wheels. Yeah. But then he had huge dune bars on it too, like so wide.
Rad.
It looked really kind of goofy, but I'm sure it was comfy.
Yeah, I secretly want one of those Rufuses in purple. They look really cool.
Nice.
Milk It. Do either of you guys have any experience with the Milk It kits?
Years ago, I had one of their injectors, and I used it a bit, but it got a little crusty throughout the years, and I think I may have tossed it or something. Hear good things about the sealant. I can't say I've heard anything bad. I think it's just more of a, maybe a brand recognition. It's in the sealant game. It's so hard. If you're not, I feel like there are, a lot of, there's more and more folks have joined the game in the past decade, and folks are working their way towards the top. But it's so hard.
It was such a from a shot perspective, it's a dice roll to try a new sealant, because if it doesn't work out, it's your business on the line.
For sure, a customer's going to come back upset. Yeah,
I think
for the injector is unique because you can actually check your sealant levels. But me being not somebody who would ever do something like that,
right?
It totally doesn't make sense. But I think there's a lot of other people out there that don't let their bike fall into disrepair between services like I do.
I'm a longtime stands guy. I love stands. Great stuff.
Orange seal all the way, man. It's a hill I'm going to die on.
Really?
You want to check your sealant level? Guess what? They sell a little dipstick for you.
Yeah, but crack the effing bead, dude.
That's what I'm saying. But hey, simple solutions.
Yeah.
I've just had my entire tire worth of orange sealant spray out on the trail through a small hole and just been like screaming, cussing at it the whole time. So.
I like orange seal. I used to sell a lot of orange seal next to stands at the shop, and a lot of the techs would argue that it's just cleaner to clean up.
Way cleaner,
it peels out kind of like a little sheath, right? I respect that for sure.
You can
WTB sealant cleans up pretty easily like that. In fact, I kind of like that WTB.
WTB, they've revamped several times. I think the newest one is probably really good, but I know they've had some challenges.
Yeah, that's just it. Is some of these
speaking
brands,
as old Derek here, not as a representative of BTI.
The whole
not a fan.
Scratch
I got burned
that.
with it, so I'm
of the current version or older versions.
Not the current version, but I'm gun shy. I have zero interest in trying anything different with this.
When I was, I was working in like Albuquerque Bicycle Center years ago. Jesus, probably when like fixed gears were like a thing, right? So I had a track bike that I was commuting on, and classic stands injected into the inner tube. And I got home from work one day, and I wheeling the bike into the house, and all of a sudden I couldn't help but to notice that there was a little bit of sealant kind of like on the porch as I was wheeling the bike, and I was like, oh crap. Upon further investigation, I had thrown a takeoff tire that had a slat, or that the wire bead was, becoming separate from the sidewall. So at some point during this ride, the tube had pinched outside of the the slit in the tire. The stands patched it. I had no idea.
Not going to hold a whole lot of pressure with the stands.
Dude, it was a road tire, right? So it probably had, maybe around, back then, I don't know, 80, 100 pounds. Anyways, stands for life, It's good stuff.
It is interesting how you have an experience and it can throw you off, or it can seal the deal, one or the other.
I've had some bad recipes of stands. Occasionally I'll snag a boneyard mystery bottle from our returns department that's probably like half leaked out from a damaged order.
Just got to make your own, Jake.
Orange seal's great, but it does clog that valve.
Yeah, it means it clogs holes,
But
man.
Speaking of valves, like valve core technology's changed quite a bit.
A lot happening.
These big bore coupler style muck-off valves are very impressive.
We just got I think we're about to get the click valves from Schwalbe. Those look cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Those aren't really, I think they do let a little bit more airflow than a normal valve, but the cool thing is just how secure the pump goes on them.
You can check your sealant levels via Bluetooth with an app on your phone. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a ton. Actually, that's something I've been meaning to make a fresh produce video about. I want to kind of do some comparisons on the different big bore new valve styles.
My only, for whatever reason, a valve core-less valve and more of a coupler system. You think, what if you're riding so fast and that coupler just opens up? Or what if a stick hits the coupler just right and opens up? This is worst case scenarios, but it's wild to see the evolution of the Presta valve.
Man,
it's come a long way.
Just cut stems off old tubes, man. I don't know what all this fancy talk's for. I'm just kidding. Though
if it could make a better, just the user experience for folks who might not be super savvy with tubeless, if it can introduce more people into tubeless, because tubeless is the way to go. I'm all for it.
At the end of the day, it's just keeping the sealant fresh.
Sure.
It's such a big part of it, and that's the challenge. You can't. Yeah, that's the challenge for the masses for sure.
You ever sell tubeless to the wrong person at the shop?
Yeah, definitely.
It's the worst.
It is the worst. Shoot yourself in the foot.
You mislead someone that put their trust in you. It sucks, man. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Comes down to asking the right questions beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It only takes a few of those times to learn which questions to ask is the problem.
It's not. Just like inner tubes, though, right? Like if the bike sits, it's gonna lose a little air.
Yeah.
Over time.
And the problem with tubeless is then when it comes unseated, people can't get it reseated correctly.
Mhm.
Whereas tubes, you never have to worry about that. Yeah.
Well, then that, brings you back to the valve situation, a clogged valve, even with one of those like large volume chambered pumps that you can very easily get to use at home, wouldn't work. If your valve's clogged up or you don't have a core removal tool, or if you're like me and cut a stem off an old tube and doesn't have a removable valve core, you're in trouble, and so I can see why there's been progress made in this space, despite my
Taking quite a while though.
You gotta have, you gotta have I mean, I had an air compressor, it broke, and that was obviously the tool for tubeless. I had a Bontrager pump that Jason gave me actually back in the day. I let it sit on the porch too long and the elements got to it. So now I've got a Lezyne tubeless pump, and it is awesome.
I had one of those at TWD, and
this thing works. I mean, for the back of the truck, if you're at the bike park or on the deck, it's pretty fantastic.
my solution was always get the CO2 cartridges out.
Yeah, what a
get the air
waste,
chuck.
though.
Oh yeah, I've definitely done that plenty of times.
Speaking of CO2, genuine innovations, or is it inflations?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's innovations.
Innovations,
inflations. No longer.
I know.
Geez.
Really? I hadn't heard that.
Gone.
Yeah, they decided to pull out of that category. There's just
Wow.
perhaps too much competition these days.
Mm-hmm. But the standard bearer for a long time.
Yeah, legendary. The same group and umbrella of the Slime, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they're more so heavier in the automotive industry. Where the money's at, Yeah, sad to see them go. I sold that brand with confidence for many years.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved the product. Any issues with an inflator I ever had or customers had, it was always so easy to just, it was always easy to work with them.
It's always one of those cash wrap.
I think Jimbo
Goods.
from Stans used to work for them back in the day. FYI.
All right. Well, that's a cool wrap up of the industry. I feel like we talked about a little bit of political stuff without getting too deep, bike market wise. That's important. And then new brands in the BTI catalog. So exciting stuff. We hope everyone's getting excited for spring. It's around the corner in terms of planning for the bike industry, at least. Hopefully it's not too close for our forest health and rainwater. But yeah, hope everyone's getting some riding in or having a great year so far. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
See you
Later.